Okay, so chances are if you're watching this, you're probably debating on going and seeing Jurassic World Dominion. And as someone who just watched it yesterday, I want to review the movie for you, and I want to help you make that sound decision so you can spend your hard-earned time and money on a worthy cause, which is darn good entertainment. So right out of the gate, I would ultimately recommend seeing Jurassic World Dominion. And if that's all you needed, I beg you to do, go to the movies, have a great time. But first, if this was helpful to you, I'd be honored if you'd consider clicking the like button so people just like you are able to find this video. Or if you want to hear my full thoughts on the movie, feel free to stick around to the very end. And just know either way, I love ya. I'm going to give you what the movie's about, what I didn't like about it, what I loved about it, and also an overall score. So let's jump right in. In Jurassic World Dominion, dinosaurs have now been released around the world and they are now coexisting with humans. Humans are struggling to live with them as it poses new interesting challenges, and all the while, a new genetic company has emerged called Biosyn. They're trying to leverage the DNA of the dinosaurs in order to create pharmaceuticals that will cure very rare diseases, or at least very deadly diseases. However, some people think that this very company is behind a conspiracy to eliminate the world's food supply by creating locusts that live very, very long and eat all of the crops. By eating all the crops, none of the animals that get farmed can live. None of those animals can live. We can't have food, which is a very big problem. And all the while, the daughter of Owen and Claire has been kidnapped by that same corporation, so they've got to set out to rescue her. And that's all about it in a nutshell. Okay, so let me first start off with what I really didn't enjoy about this movie. Jurassic World Dominion is probably one of the most scatterbrained movies I've ever seen. It doesn't quite know what it wants to be. It feels like it's trying to tell two different stories that at one point expands to 3, then expands to 4, and then finally getting all the way down to 1 by the time the movie ends. To be honest, it gets expanded so far out wide that it makes the movie really long, it makes it feel really long, and you get kind of bored at a lot of points. And it gets exasperating because you kind of forget what's going on because there's just so many layers to unpack. And by a movie like this trying to be everything at once, it doesn't do any of those things to a very superb degree. It just stretches itself way too thin to the point where it's kind of annoying to keep track of. On the one hand, you've got it being a conspiracy theory story. On another hand, you've got it being a kidnapping story. On another hand, it's an action movie. On another hand, it's a dinosaur movie. And on another hand, it's an end of the world movie. You could argue it's all these things and probably more, which is just way too much for one movie to handle. Which leads me into another issue, which is the movie's pacing. This movie is very long and it feels even longer. At the runtime being at about 2 hours and 28 minutes, it honestly feels more like 3+. For about the last 45 minutes, I was begging for the movie to end because it felt like it was just taking forever to wrap up everything. By creating so many different plot lines in one film, it's got to wrap all of those up by the end, which really elongated the runtime and it really dragged down the experience for me. It's trying to cram way too many stories, way too many characters into one narrative, and it just overall bloated it, oversaturated it, and made it a very unpleasant experience by the time it ended. And additionally, some of the actors' choices I really wasn't a big fan of. With so many characters being introduced into this movie, there's a few of them that come across really strangely, especially in conversation. It's like they're trying too hard to be different and stand out in the movie, and in the end, it just gets really distracting and it really takes you out of some really good scenes. I would argue this probably happens with 2 of the characters, but it's so distracting to the point where it does actually bring down the movie. I get it, actors gotta take risks, but sometimes those risks don't pay off, and that was the case in this movie with some of these people. And I couldn't help but feel like there was way too much screaming in the movie, which I know sounds like a bit of a nitpick, but within the first hour, I felt like I had heard hundreds of screams and I was already annoyed about 60 minutes into it. And I get it, they're being chased by dinosaurs, that's scary, but do you have to have every single reaction be a scream? I mean, literally every single one. It felt like every 5 minutes I was hearing someone screaming their head off. I'm like, that's not an attractive feature for a movie. You can show fear and show emotion without screaming. That's why they're actors. You don't have to have them scream as well. Or at least if they are going to scream, have them not do it every 90 seconds. I know, I'm being a little harsh, but hey, that's the experience I had. And I would also argue that the inclusion of all of the old age characters from the Jurassic Park franchise and all the characters from the new age Jurassic World franchise did the movie a bit of a disservice. I think that really contributed to the overall bloatedness and saturatedness of this movie and really made it long and really made the experience just not great. It felt like the movie was trying to hop on this bandwagon that Spider-Man No Way Home has been doing, that several other franchises have been doing, like Ghostbusters, where they try to introduce the old age characters for the sake of nostalgia and getting people into the movie, but it doesn't always make for a great movie, and that's the case with this this film. I would argue it's the cause of having so many different plot lines introduced and really making the movie a lot longer than it needed to be. But enough with being a negative Nelly, let me jump into what I really enjoyed about this movie. There are plenty of moments of brilliance, especially within dialogue between characters. The movie does find the time within its script to find meaning in the mundane, where they take very interesting transition periods between place to place, and they turn them into very meaningful conversations where you truly get to know these characters a lot better than you did originally. And I really appreciate it when a movie takes time to do that, because you get to latch onto characters, get to understand their motivations, understand who they are, which gives you that extra stake in the movie and gets you a little bit more invested. And additionally, while I mentioned that there were some acting performances that I didn't really enjoy, there were other acting performances that I absolutely loved and really carried this movie. One of which was from Jeff Goldblum, who for me was one of the shining stars of the film. He brought some really great intensity, a ton of gravitas in some of the dialogue he was giving, and it really elevated the film's experience for me. Now, on the other side of that, the surprise standout for me in this film was Mamadou Athie, who plays as Ramsey Cole. I thought he was absolutely superb in this movie, and I'm actually really interested to see what he does next. I know nothing about his career, so he could be a very well-vetted actor at this point, but if he's still in the earlier stages of his career, I'd be really interested to see if other films and studios don't pick up on that, because he was brilliant and really made everything about this movie just so much better. In fact, I wish he was in it more. He just had so much charm, so much charisma, and I just really appreciated that. And although not a huge standout, but I really appreciated DeWanda Wise and her performance in this movie. I thought she really helped elevate it as well. She was more of a minor role in the film, but a good one nonetheless. And finally, I really enjoyed the action set pieces in Jurassic World Dominion. I think that's one area where this movie was most consistent. A lot of the chase sequences between dinosaurs and our characters were really intense. The fight sequences between the dinosaurs were really intense. You'll very often get scenes that kind of have one of those two veins, and all of them were executed pretty well and were pretty darn entertaining. They're exciting, they're violent, they're in your face at some points. You'll probably be wincing in your seat at some of the scenes because these dinosaurs, they're cruel, man. All right, so I promised an overall score, so I'll say this about Jurassic World Dominion. I'll give Jurassic World Dominion a 5 out of 10. I thought it was good enough. I didn't really love the movie, but I'd say it's good enough and worth seeing. If I had to put it within the Jurassic World franchise, for me, it's probably smack dab in the middle. And with that, friends, thank you so much for watching. If you found this video helpful, I'd be honored if you consider clicking the like button so people just like you are able to find this video. And if you like videos just like this, feel free to click these end cards up above if you'd like to see more, or the links down in the description below for your viewing pleasure. Once again, this has been the Bankrupt Hippo YouTube channel. I've been Bryce, and until next time, have a great day.